All right. Kia ora, everyone, and welcome to this special Soul lunchtime session of Glitter and Grief with the incredible Ellie Bambury. I'm Jackie O'Connor. I'm the founder of Heart Place Hospital, and it's a privilege to host in collaboration with Ellie. It's been very easy. So Ellie is a compassionate and soulful grief guide and an end-of-life celebrant who invites us to see grief not just as a loss, but as a sacred gateway to new beginnings. Oh, I got lovely little tingles. With over a decade of experience supporting young people and families, Ellie has a deep understanding of the many forms grief can take, sometimes showing up when we least expect it. So today's session is about creating a safe, supportive space to explore grief in a way that is uplifting and empowering. Ellie will share soulful tools and insights to help you acknowledge, befriend, and release your grief while reconnecting with dreams and desires in your heart. This event is also a fundraiser for Heart Place Hospital. Your heartfelt $11 goes directly to supporting our work of providing compassionate care to individuals navigating life's transitions. So thank you for your generosity and for being here with us today, and for those who are receiving it on recording. So let's settle in for a meaningful and transformative time. Over to you, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I really appreciate your beautiful introduction there, and thank you for having me. I love collaborating, and it's been a little while since I've done any kind of call like this. So yeah, I'm really grateful for all of you making time out today. I'll share a little bit more about my work and how I kind of came into this. I turned 30 in October, and that's often a surprise to people when they learn that I work with people going through grief, because often, it's generally considered something that people in the retirement ages and beyond kind of get into. But for me, I've been through a lot of loss in like family members, friends, and I've also come to realize and understand that grief isn't just about when we lose a loved one in the physical. It can come up when we are moving through life transitions, when our friends have children or move house or away from us. It's when we start to have that life identity crisis. There's all kinds of parts of ourselves that aren't often seen as grief, and we look into them as anxiety or depression or anything else like that, which are all valid things, but often they can be pinned down to some sort of grief that we might have not realized was grief, and therefore not honored it in the way that we would honor it if something had happened that was like a loss of a family member, for example. So I'm really passionate about helping people see that, and it's often something I see people get surprised at. The people that I work with, they get surprised when I say, have you ever thought about this possibly being grief? And it's always a shock, but then there's this realization that actually, yes, that could be what is happening underneath. I don't want to talk too long about what I do, but I do run bi-monthly events called Grief, and they are for the community. Jackie, I can't see the screen, but it might just be because I'm on my phone.
Can I see the screen?
We have a sort of a screen. We've got a small, we can see your whole screen, Jackie, but it's small.
Oh.
So I don't know if you can make the slides bigger.
Is it bigger now?
Yeah, if you press that. That's perfect. Great.
Yeah, awesome. So they can see it. You can't, Ellie?
Is that bigger? So
I'm on about.
I can now. Yes. Okay. Awesome. We're back in. Yeah, you're great. Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. You're awesome. So yeah, just there's a little bit about me. So I run bi-monthly events called Glitter and Grief, and that is a intergenerational community gathering where people can explore what grief is together, share their stories, release out the safety to release, and it's been really magical so far. I have a background in directing and writing for screen and theatre, which sometimes people are like, how on earth did you become a celebrant from that? But actually there's a lot of correlation in the storytelling and the learning about how to present stories and things about people in a way that honors them. And yeah, I've been born in UK, and my entire family now live back in the UK, so I'm the only one here at the moment, and that in itself is a world. And my family have moved back for various reasons, so that's also grief. There's also a form of grief there, and it presents itself in lots of ways. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, and you're welcome to get in touch with me at the end or ask some questions later if you'd like to know more about my story. But it's a wild ride. And today, Jack, you're welcome to go to the next slide. I am all about not being the only one talking. And for today to be able to be of value, I'd love to kind of get to know a little bit about who we've got. You don't have to turn your screen on if you don't want, and you're also welcome to pass. I will be that person that just says a name, and if you'd like to chime in, you're welcome to. If you don't, just say pass, and I'll choose someone else. And there's only a few of us on here, so that's all good. But there's a little icebreaker kind of get together here. So I just love to know your name, where you're coming in from. As you can imagine, most of you are in New Zealand. If there's a particular reason that kind of resonated with you to come on today, and then if you've got any terrible advice you've been given, because often we get given good suggestions, but sometimes the well-intentioned things can actually be really terrible. So if you've ever been told anything kind of funny or really outrageously terrible, just feel free to share it. Makes everyone giggle a bit. And if you'd like to share anything around how you navigate grief or anything you'd like to improve on, you're welcome to do so as well. So just a little bit about you. They're just some prompts. You don't have to do all of them if you don't like. So let's start with Rachel. If you'd like to unmute yourself.
I don't think I can't talk at the moment. Maybe
okay.
I'll type something in the box.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. We're here for you. We're here for you. Okay. Is anyone, Michaela, would you like to? You can put your thumb up or down if you like.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, my name's Michaela. I'm currently living in Waipu, which is just up north of the North Island of New Zealand. So I've been recently connected with Jackie, so she kind of invited me to this beautiful space. It's really beautiful talking about grief, and I guess for me, it feels like I'm going through a big transition, as I know I'm a wounded healer and I'm wanting to heal these wounds, which essentially is shedding and reprogramming certain aspects of self. And also recently having a connection where I'm kind of breaking away from that, which I feel like when you're kind of going through like a breakup with someone, it is the type of grief that you go through. And sometimes your symptoms can be quite similar, although this one isn't as bad as like, it was only for a shorter amount of time, but versus like, I remember when I was in a 5-year relationship and the grief that came with that literally felt like, yeah, I'd lost someone. So yeah.
Thank you, Michaela.
It's kind of.
Thank you for sharing where you're at. It's interesting what you said there about it's not the same, like something along the lines of it's not the same as like losing someone, but actually it's ourself, that version of ourself, right? That is considered someone, that's a being in itself, right? That version of us that existed once upon a time. So in that loss and that transition, there's that part as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there any terrible advice you've been given?
I think the worst advice for me throughout my life is people telling me who I am and me really having to like steer away from that and just step into my authentic self, because that's essentially like me, that's going to attract my tribe. Yeah. So like lots of things have definitely come up for me. And as I said, like, I know that there's these wounds here, and essentially to heal them, once I've healed those, then I'm able to like heal and help others. So yeah, shedding light is, yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Michaela. I think we can all resonate with that, right? Yeah. Helen, would you like to speak? No problem if you don't, just remain muted.
Oh, I'm all good to speak. I'll just turn my video. I'm just cooking lunch, hence not. I've got my thing on mute.
That's okay.
I'm a registered nurse and I specialise in mental health, and I really like the fact that you talked about that a lot of depression or anxiety may be grief that has been perhaps mislabeled or given another name, because I think that's so important, and that grief comes in so many shapes and sizes, and it isn't necessarily the big things that we associate with grief. For example, a loss of a loved one. I think we suffer many different types of grief, even, work-related, goal-related, things that we wanted that never turned out how we planned. So, really here to listen to what you have to say, and excited, actually. I think you're doing an amazing job at such a young age.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rachel, as well. That's a beautiful message there that you've passed through. I'm so sorry to hear about your mum. And I just want to honor you for choosing to be here right now, because that is a huge thing to do so soon. And please don't feel like you have to contribute anything at all today. Just be in the space, okay? And we've got you. We're holding that energy of love for you, okay? Thank you. Donna, would you like to share? Thank you, Helen. That was really beautiful.
Yeah, hi. I'm Donna. I'm a registered nurse in Whangarei, and currently taking some time out from my role. It's just about a journey of looking after myself, and over the last 18 months, I have had quite a bit of grief in my life through deaths and changes in circumstances. So I'm just really interested to hear what you've got to share today, Ellie.
Thank you. So I said to Jackie just before we started, I'm just really curious to see what brought people here, because there's always different things, right? There's always different experiences that have popped up for all of us. And I hope I can be of value. That's all I can say. Just a quick note, Jackie, there was one person that just messaged me saying she didn't have a link, so I've just sent her the Zoom and she might pop in a minute. Not sure if she will, but just to let you know. Awesome. You're welcome to flick to the next one, Jackie, on the screen, the gold one. There we go. So this is a very quick slide, and some of you might automatically know who you want up to date. Might someone's lost, like Rachel, it could be your mum. Bring it into your heart right now and trust that this process is going to be part of that healing journey for you. I like to just bring this forward for people, and if it is an old version of themselves or a version of themselves that they feel like you said, Michaela, that unlayering that could be happening right now, maybe that's who you're honoring right now. It could be someone that is going through something, that you're grieving the changing relationship. I often, as a celebrant, deal with people that have been grieving the loss of a loved one for years because of a mental or physical condition that's changed how they relate to them, and that is also grief. So when they do pass away, there's this whole new ball game with what the grief is and what it looks like. So you bring to heart today that person or that feeling that you'd like to honor in yourself, and trust that everything is gonna be beautiful. Jackie, next slide. We've got a question. Well, I've got a question. We don't have to spend too long on it because we all know the answer, but I'd love to hear maybe one sentence or one phrase. You can type it in the chat, or just unmute yourself as you want. What is grief? What is grief? How do we define that? And if I actually Googled this because I was interested to see just how black and white it is. And I'd love to hear the nuances of your experience with grief, how you would refer to it. Obviously, it covers different losses, different people, different things, but we can often associate denial, shock. There's the 5 stages: the anger, the bargaining, the depression. There's the 5 stages of grief that we can sometimes come through. Jackie's written a part of love. Yes, I've heard that too. It's often the price we pay for having loved someone so much. So it's like this bittersweet feeling that we know is going to happen at some stage if we love someone. That's a beautiful contribution there. Some people, I don't know if you are okay with swearing on this, Jackie, if it's okay, but sometimes people say grief's just a shit show. Like, they're straight up just, there's nothing good about it. Some people are just, this is just the worst thing of the worst. Deep sorrow and emotional pain. Yeah. Yeah. So having our words, thank you, Michaela, having our words and our definitions, sometimes, we can attach to them and think this is what it is. But my encouragement to you today is hold them all loosely. Because if we attach, again, it's the same with anything in life. If we attach too strongly to it, if we make it the only definition, it shuts us off possibilities of what it could be. And through the work I do, and like Jackie said at the beginning, I like to help people open up to what else it could be. And it doesn't mean we shut down the heavy. It means we take it with us and help it transmute as we grow. Is there anything else? Similarities to deep rest? Yeah. Beautiful. It forces us to stop, right? Or on the contrary, it can force us to speed right up because we don't want to be in it too long. Hi, Ellie.
Hello.
Hello. We've done a few intros at the beginning, but if you want to say a quick hi and what brought you here today, you're welcome to. We can pause for a moment. No, that's all good. Okay, we'll continue. We're just talking about what grief is. And I read the Google definition kind of, and it's very clinical in that sense. And we were just throwing ideas out there in terms of what it actually could be to us uniquely. Beautiful. Okay, next slide, Jackie. Thank you. All right, so the picture that you'll see there is a picture of me at Glittering Grief with a lady that came along that lost her husband about 1.5 years ago. She's a friend of mine and she's got 3 teenage children that, obviously having 3 teenagers lose a dad is going to be a very, very traumatic thing to navigate. And she's had to build a new community around her because suddenly she became the griever, the one that, had so much going on and people didn't know how to help her. In the initial stages beyond, providing different avenues for support and things like that externally, but personal relationships were often challenged because people didn't know how to support. And I wanted to open up this discussion around the ways that the things in our lives that actually impact how we allow ourselves to grieve. Because Rachel, I just want to honor you for allowing yourself to express your tears and be vulnerable with us because, I've only just met you. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful that you didn't try and fake it today. You didn't try and force yourself to be all smiles and contribute like that. This is what it is. It's raw, it's real, and you're allowing yourself to show up as you need to. But I just wanted to kind of bring to mind, and I'd love to ask you guys as well, if there's anything you think you can add to this list that contribute to how we allow ourselves to grieve. It goes right back to our childhood. Some of you might know all this stuff already, but it's just a good reminder when we're going through stuff that actually, when you were growing up, right through into your adult years now, the way we see our tribe, our people around us show emotion or how much they're willing to hold, often, it does affect what we allow ourselves to express. So if you're surrounded by people that are quite, maybe surface level with conversation and they're not quite the people you can go deep and meaningful with, and you don't really have access to people that are willing to just let it all out and safely let it all out, you're probably going to follow suit. And often that can start to be manifest itself in our bodies as sickness and depression and anxiety and other things that are completely valid, but have often, stemmed from something that hasn't been able to be expressed elsewhere. Our upbringing, a lot of you probably know as well, between 0 and 7 is where we develop all of our core beliefs and ways of interacting and how we receive and give love. Like all of those things are kind of concretized between 0 and 7, and they're not a death sentence, they're not for life and you can't change them. But unless we're willing to look at them and willing to explore and transmute and grow in them, they can actually sabotage a lot of our grief journey. For example, when I was a kid, I was known as the strong one because I was always taller than my friends. I was always more confident, always doing the drama like plays and stuff, wanting to be the lead. Never quite got the lead, and because I was more confident, I remember that like in the playground at primary school, kids would often be, if they would be crying about something because we'd fallen out, they would often get more attention from the teachers and they would be believed. And I learned to be hardened to that. And I would just learn to talk my way out of things and over explain myself to get through. I never showed emotion. I actually told my mum when I was probably like 8 or 9, apparently, that crying is for weak people. Like a 9-year-old, 10-year-old girl said that because that's what I'd learned. And it took me until my early 20s, and I'm still only 30, but it took me to my early 20s to look at that and actually deal with it and allow myself to express in a way that was authentic and real and not putting a barrier around myself. So I encourage you today to ask yourself, you might have done a whole load of work on yourself, but if you're feeling stagnant or stuck or confused right now about why your emotions aren't coming through, or perhaps you're not really sure which direction to take or what help you need next or what support you need next, to ask yourself, okay, well, how is this mirroring an experience from my younger years? Because there's more than likely a link. And I've put another one there as well, is nature and sunlight. We often underestimate that. We can often think that it's not important, but having time in nature where we're literally doing nothing, being with our thoughts, it can feel scary when we don't give ourselves time. But if we make it a small habit where we can give ourselves occasional, consistent blocks of time where we're just being, having a little bit of grass or water around us or some flowers or even your garden, just for like 10 minutes a day, the impact of that on your nervous system is going to allow you to think clearer and feel clearer so that you can move forward in a way that is more grounded, literally grounded, like the ground beneath your feet. I'd love it if, again, in the chat or out loud, if anyone would love to share another way that could impact how we grieve or stop us from grieving the way we feel is what we need.
I think, Ellie, we've got a few health professionals on this call, and grief is just so much part of our role that we've been so hardened to it. And, often someone passes in our care and then there's other people that we need to care for. So there is no opportunity. And this was a big reason that I wanted to get this up and out, is so many people on the front line are experiencing grief, but we haven't ever been raised with how to grieve. So I think for a lot of people that come through Heart Place Hospital, there's just so much of it that there's a chance to actually process at the time. Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie. I really resonate with that, and that's actually a powerful point you make, and it can link to the people that care for others. So if you're a parent, or even if you're a sibling and you've got younger siblings that you had to take care of when you were growing up, like all of those things, and in the care industry, however that looks, that can be often a big barrier, and especially, not to be gender specific, but often women typically are nurturers. We have that desire to make sure everyone else is fine. Everyone else is fine first. And we can sometimes, I'm totally guilty of this, we can channel all of our feelings into trying to help them, right? And then we think, oh, well, I'm fine now because I've given all I've got, so there's nothing left here, so I don't need to look at it. But actually, this is where the nature and the grounding and all that can come back in and be really powerful. Because those self-care practices, as much as it's thrown around as a necessity, they really are. Like, we can't underestimate the value of that. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 30 seconds of self-acknowledgement, if you're one of those people that's constantly giving, is enough to build a habit.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jackie.
Something I share with nurses is, all those type of roles, is in between patients or clients, is actually, we have to wash our hands. So use that ritual as a time to be grateful to be a part of that and I know it has to be on steroids sometimes because of the pace that we've had to work, but use that as a ritual.
Yeah, beautiful. That physicalizing is good, actually. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to talk about that in a few moments. Actually, it's part of one of the slides. So thank you for sharing. All right, let's hop to the next one. Next slide. So this is that picture. I actually took that photo in that triangle. It's from Hanua, in the Hanua Ranges. I don't know if any of you have been, but there's a beautiful river that goes down, like down through the bush. And sometimes I don't go and sit where everyone else is. I'll go the opposite direction and find like a spot. And I took this photo, and it's absolutely magical. But this is kind of like a little paradigm that I created last year as a way that I help other people navigate grief. And a way I encourage you to just play with the concept. And we won't spend too long here, but it's just to kind of bring up what at least I've felt and found to be useful when people are trying to make sense of what they're going through. So at the bottom there, we have witnessing grief and unleashing truth. One of the things that I often find, both with families that I'm helping with funerals and in the coaching and the events that I do, is that and I'll mention this again later, is once they start acknowledging the thing they're going through right now, they often realize that there's a whole bunch of other stuff that they've never talked about or never dealt with. And it could go way, way back and feel completely unrelated, but it's unfelt feelings that have been triggered by the current situation. So unleashing truth is kind of at the foundation level. The witnessing grief is seeing and acknowledging, okay, I'm grieving. Just simply acknowledging the fact that you're going through grief. Instead of trying to paint it with every other word under the sun, use that term and give yourself permission to be in that space of, I'm actually going through some grief, like I'm growing through my grief. Using the real terminology is something that teachers are trying to do with kids more as well, with their body parts and things. It's a safety thing. It's an honoring of an actual experience. So saying that we're witnessing it, it's allowing it to be there. This is the simplified version. And unleashing truth, as we start to do that, unleashing the truth is allowing yourself to, again, voice or write down or voice record or however feels safe and good for you, is saying, what else is this bringing up for me? What other experiences are linked here that are coming up that are obviously related? Because if you can think them and they're coming up, there's a link, even if it's not a conscious link. Okay, there's a link there, and we don't always have to know what it is, but just acknowledging it is enough. And as you can see, I've created it like a triangle, because as you do those things, we're starting to come up the scale, and then we can start to create connections and belonging, and that feeling of belonging with people around us, instead of falling victim to storing everything and pushing it all down and then attracting based off of the anger we might be feeling or the resentment. We can't create clarity in our relationships and ask for what we need from a place of healing if we're in survival mode all the time. So the first person we want to acknowledge what we're feeling is to ourselves. And once we do that and give ourselves that space and that time to come up the scale a little bit and lighten the load, then we can start to think, okay, I realize now that I need to have a conversation with this person, because all of that undealt with stuff is still there. Okay, maybe I need to take a bit of a step back from that relationship because it's actually quite draining and they keep bringing this thing up that I don't want to I don't want to live in that space anymore. I want to spend more time with people that are outdoors. We can start to look at the world from a place of what we need to call in rather than what we think we need, because that's what everyone has said. Okay, so it's that creating connection with, everyone is our mirror. They mirror back what we need. And if we're constantly feeling frantic, it's probably because everyone in our world needs something from us, or there's an energy of franticness around us. Okay. So creating that genuine friendship, and they go together. My kind of tagline is soul first living. The word soul has a different feeling for everybody. Some people might be really spiritual. Others might not ever use that word. Some people refer to soul as like a kind of music. There's no right or wrong. But for me, what I encourage is, it's your heart, right? It's living from a place of lightness and what your heart wants, rather than going off. I love soul too, Jackie. I think it's going from your heart rather than your head. Like, your head can help you get the decisions made and all the things, but your heart is the thing that will lead the way for the decisions to arise. If that's probably the easiest way of saying it. So when we're grieving, I like to help people navigate what are you witnessing right now? Is there something you need to say out loud? And that's often what happens at Glitter and Grief as well, is people sit opposite me and they'll say things they haven't said for 20 years, and it just, their whole persona changes, their face changes, their body language lifts up. Like there's a whole kind of cracking open just from speaking, just from saying like one simple sentence. And from there, they feel buzzed and energized to go and call in what they need. And the soul first living is where we can start to understand what our needs are, and express from that place. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Jackie. So again, if anyone has more questions around this or would like to talk about it more, I'll be available for that. So this is, again, I don't like to write loads of words on slides, but I thought I'm going to write them for my benefit. You don't have to sit here and read them all. It's just so I make sure I share what I'm wanting to express. So again, just going back to who you're surrounded by, a huge thing. And again, this is from personal experience, but also a summary of observation from working with teenagers right through to the elderly, to be honest. Who are you surrounded by right now? Because there's a couple of things here that are really important if you want to be able to grieve and heal your heart in a way that feels good, like for you, not because someone said this is what you should do next. What feels good for you? You've probably heard you are the sum of your 5 closest people. Okay, so 5 to 10 people in your life. Start to just have a little bit of reflection about what they bring to your world. Because we need safety. As humans, it's, you know, our desire for connection is fundamental. We need that to live. Loneliness is one of the biggest, I'd say, pandemics, endemics in the world at the moment, you know, people, especially the elderly. And safety is, and often, again, from personal experience with my grandmother, because she's experienced a lot of loss, sometimes that can harden us and want to push people away. But it's also, if we're not taught and we don't cultivate habits to build safe relationships, it's easier to just push them away. So it's a slow process. But I've written here, the hardest thing is I'm so alone right now. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. That's the thing. And thank you for acknowledging that, because now you've said that out loud to us today. We're witnesses to that for you. And the only way is up. The only way is up, and be where you are. Okay, be where you are right now. And we're all sending lots of love to you and anyone else that's feeling that way. Okay, and trust that now you know that. Give yourself some time to just be where you are, and then start to imagine and dream. And we'll play with that a little bit at the end today around what that can look like for you with new relationships. Okay, and we're here. I've written here, true freedom of expression can feel terrifying because it's often capped, meaning there's often a limit before the person we are sharing with. So if we start crying in front of someone, there's usually a limit before they start trying to fix us or send us to someone else to help us, right? I'm quite, I'd say for a lot of the people that know me, people feel very safe and always have to let it all out, because I don't do that. Like if it's really urgent, I will, but often I'm able, because I've trained in it and also just observed what doesn't work in holding the energy. Sometimes, like most of the time, 99% of the time, we don't want someone to suggest something. We have the answers underneath, but sometimes we need to let out all the stuff that's going on before we can get to it. But the mistake people make is often jumping in before we get to that answer for ourselves. They'll be like, oh, we'll go and have a nap, or go and talk to this person, or try this new diet, or whatever it is, before we allow ourselves to empty, so we can get to the root thing that we actually want to say. So safety is about, actually, do I feel like and these are just questions to ask yourself with your relationships, do I feel like I can let everything out and they're not going to fix me? And if the answer is no, and you want to keep them in your life and grow the relationship, one thing I can recommend, if you haven't already tried this, is prefacing your conversations. If you need to release something and they're a trusted person, you could actually say something similar, like in your own words. I've got a lot of things I need to share, and I need to cry. Like, give them the heads up. I need to probably let it all out, and I really would prefer it if you can just be there in your presence with me and not say anything unless I ask you to. Can you do that? And if they can't, find someone else. And again, if there's no one in your life right now, it doesn't mean that there won't be in the future. But cultivating safety is a really important part of healing, because we need to be able to access the inner depths to get to the truth. Okay. The next one I've written, the underlying truth. I said this: the thing is never the thing, meaning the grief we feel from a particular current loss is often underpinned by all the other things we might not have felt before. Okay, so being in the presence of emotional safety is what allows us to access and release the stored grief, and everything else will find its way out another way. And so a piece of encouragement I have, and these are basic points that I kind of, again, this is a bit more of a crash course, but I wanted to just give as many ideas to see what might resonate or land with people today. And if you want to follow up, you can. But I want you to ask yourself, what permission are you giving yourself right now? Like Rachel, you've given yourself permission to be really vulnerable today and be honest, and that's amazing. When moving through grief and breaking through our own blocks, sometimes it might mean we need to give ourselves permission to be around new or different people. But what we don't say, what we don't often talk about, is that is a grief in itself. Because maybe the people we need are not the people we thought. And that is more grief on top of grief, which is often what holds us back from trying in the first place. I know it's a lot. I know there's a lot going on here. But one of my things is saying it like it is and really, really highlighting what is underneath. And I'm hoping that, this is resonating with some of you.
Yeah. I just sort of shared.
Yeah.
Anna said, thanks, Ellie, great to hear. Have you heard about sessions for grief group program in schools for youth with loss? But we can leave that to the end, or you might be able to answer that.
I have. Oh, seasons. Yes, they actually came to one of my Glitter and Grief events. A couple of their volunteers came, which was really cool. I had a really lovely time meeting them. Yeah, and I love the books and stuff. I love how they make it really light and practical. So yeah, I think I'll probably tap back into them next year, actually, because there's a family friend of mine that works with them as well.
Oh, wonderful.
And I love it. Your fridge died last night.
Well, you've seen it. Yeah.
All right. My phone seems to be okay, so I'm going to keep talking and just see what happens. Okay. Worst case, okay, I will send everybody a recording of some kind of the last bits, but we're kind of through the bulk of the major stuff anyway. Thanks for your patience, everybody. It's been one of those days. Okay, we're back. So, okay, are we okay to go a few minutes over, or?
Yes, yep. That's fine by me, and I'll send the recording if anyone needs to leave early, so that's fine.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so this is an activity I do at Glitter and Grief. I know, Ellie, you've been to one of the sessions before, and it's an activity I do with people to help them practice understanding what grief and boundary setting and asking for what we need feels like in their body. Because when it comes to creating new relationships and finding people that that can actually support what we need. And like I was talking about earlier, being able to be there without us having to explain ourselves or cap our ability to express everything. We need to be able to say what we feel, right? We need to be able to practice that. But sometimes if we've never done it before, if we've never really had the opportunity to do that, or it feels weird, it can often give our bodies a physical response. And that's something we don't talk about very much. And I like to talk about it. Surprise, surprise. So what we're going to do, again, you don't have to turn your mics on for this, but I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. And I'm going to say some statements that can be useful to, again, you probably wouldn't say them worded in exactly this way with people, and you could obviously swap some of the words out to feel more authentic to you. But the idea behind this is to practice vocalizing our needs or our desires or our limits with people, okay, and just see how it feels in your body. So I just encourage you for a moment, if it feels good to you, to just close your eyes and just sit in your chair nice and comfortably. And I'm going to say some statements probably just 3 or 4. And I'd love for you to just repeat them out loud in your own time, okay? And I want you to notice how that feels in your body to say these things. You might feel tense, you might feel fine, you might feel a tingling, but just notice, don't shut it down, just notice where that is, okay? So just taking a nice deep breath just to get calm and grounded after that little hiccup we had. Allow your body to just relax for a moment and know that you're completely safe. And you might want to bring to mind someone or a group of people that you have trouble setting boundaries with or limits with, or someone that might talk over you sometimes. Or you can leave it open. You know, you don't have to bring anyone forward, but if there is someone that you'd like to improve that relationship with, just bring them forward as well into your mind. And I'm just going to say the statements and just repeat them out loud in your own time. I need to let off some steam. Are you able to be with me? And take another deep breath. Again, these words might not be words you use, but just see how they feel. Just being simple, not over-explaining yourself, just expressing a need. And next one. I'm sorry, I'm not able to talk about this anymore. Another deep breath, just allow that to sink into your body. I'm really scared that our friendship is going through some challenges and we might lose each other. We sometimes don't acknowledge that, right? We don't acknowledge that our friendships can change when we're going through stuff, and voicing that to our friends can feel scary. We'll just do one more. Take a nice deep breath. And the last statement is, I really need to cry, but I don't want you to give me any advice. Can you hold space for me? And take a nice deep breath. Would anybody like to share? Open your eyes in your own time. Would anybody like to share how that felt or what came up for them? Either in the chat or out loud.
I'm feeling very empowered, and I found it very healing because I personally struggle with boundaries. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's always very encouraging. I think women generally, we struggle, right, to set boundaries because it feels like we're shutting people out. Jackie felt emotional. Yeah. Is everyone here a fellow over-explainer? Over-apologizer? Yeah. Yep. We feel terrible setting limits with people. And another thing is people can sometimes assume that we're going to give them an explanation. So if we suddenly don't, it can come across as passive-aggressive or stunted or like we're cold with them. So again, I'm a huge fan of prefacing things. If people mean something to you and you want them in your life and you're trying to make big changes, take it slow and let them know, okay, actually, I'm going through some changes right now. I might come across to you like I'm being blunt, but I'm just practicing being more clear. So please just, give me some grace. Because if they mean something to you and they respect you, they'll understand that you might be a bit wobbly, but you're trying to practice a new habit, and it might inspire them to do the same. Because all the energy we spend on trying to explain ourselves and apologize to people is actually draining us. I see you laughing there, Michaela. I can feel like this is really resonating with you.
Yes, it is. And it's really come to the light recently for me where I'm actually putting my energy. And like you said, like, I just feel like it's almost like a waste. It's like I could be like helping other people, instead I'm putting it all there. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. It's, completely. And again, because I said to you, I say it as it is. There's also a part of us that as we start to, even like Jackie said, you feel emotional. Sometimes we can feel emotional trying these things because we suddenly have all these realizations that we should have done it sooner.
So let's just maybe have a look at these few slides. Well, if she's hopefully coming back, otherwise we'll patch this all together and create something to send out to you. So the physical release of grief. So picture cards, natural instincts and reflecting on your habits, mirror work, shouting out into waterfalls and other loud experiences. Can you think of other ways to physically release your grief? When we acknowledge our grief, move with it, bank the lessons and express our truth. That's the glitter. So I know I've worked a lot in, just coming back, in that sacred area, and there's something about really releasing when you go through raptures, go through ruptures that bring on the little bit, the little bits of the glimmers to the raptures.
Based off the previous conversation we had, is this the next slide, Jackie? The physical release, is that the next one?
Yeah, I've just been sharing that.
Beautiful.
Slide.
I was going to say that one, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I was just going to have a little conversation around physical ways we can access and release grief. Yay, thank you, Donna. This has never happened before. It's one of those days of just going with it. So this is a picture from Glittering Grief, one of the events I did. It was a good mix of age groups and stuff. And I had these picture cards of different things happening, like a rocket and fireworks and someone on a boat and various random things. And I got everyone to choose one at the beginning and one at the end and just explore expressing why they chose that card in relation to what they were going through. And it's fascinating. It's always beautiful to watch how someone might choose something because they physically, they have a draw to it. But when you encourage them to explain what the connection is, they never end up saying what you think they're going to say. Like there's always something more to it. And it refers a little bit back to what I was talking about earlier, is the thing is never the thing. Like there's always more. It's part of the thing, but there's always more stuff to uncover. And I'm a huge fan of not doing things conventionally. Everything has its place, but I like to get playful. And sometimes that involves using pictures. Sometimes that involves, and you can see it, I've written it there, shouting into waterfalls and other loud experiences. I don't know if any of you live near a waterfall, but I've been to Hanua Falls, is my favorite. And I often find myself going there just for beautiful walks and stuff, as you've seen on the picture that I did earlier on at the beginning with the triangle. But sometimes when the waterfall has had a lot of rain and it's hectic, I'll sometimes try and walk to it, like as close as I can to it, and just yell. Like no one can hear you. And it's like all of the energy and all of the intense feelings can just, disappear into the ethers and get smashed into the water. And it's this beautiful, raw way of connecting with nature, but also letting off some steam. And I wanted to do a bit more talking around, again, traditionally women who we get told that it's wrong to express anger, or it's bad to express anger. And if we get too physical with how we're feeling, it can make people think we're a bit mad or crazy or need to be like looked at. But actually, we've all got primal instincts, and the more we numb them out, the worse we're going to feel over time. Which is why people, when people are going through stuff, we encourage them to exercise and get out. This is no different. It's just a different thing you're exercising. It's your vocal cords, it's your throat, it's your shoulders, and all of the tense areas. So if anyone ever feels like going to a waterfall and screaming into it with me, I will happily go with you, because it's good even if you're not going through heavy stuff. Yeah, maybe we should all do a group trip. Rachel's summing up. We'll all do She's keen. Do you want to say anything, Rachel, or you just vibing with that?
Hanua is actually
I think
really close to me. I'm only in Takanini, so I think I might.
Oh, beautiful.
Have a shout there.
Yeah.
And scream.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And then you go to
Scream.
Clevedon after and get an ice cream, real fruit ice cream after, to make yourself feel nice and cool. I just want to say, Rachel, your face looks different. Your face looks different. I just want to encourage you, Rachel, after having some cleansing through your tears, you look lighter right now. So I just want to encourage you.
Long roller coaster.
Yeah.
Last 2 days I was good. Today I'm not.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's just today,
That
right?
is okay. It's just today. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage you to, again, I'm just take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But saying yesterday I was good, today I'm not. Every day is a good day, even if it means crying. Okay. There's no bad days. Emotion needs to stop being, and again, it's not a dig at you, it's society in general and our conditioning. There's no bad days. Every day is you being you. You're just different expressions of parts of you. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, let's, we might, yeah, so there's shouting into waterfalls, picture cards, reflecting on your habits, like what are your go-tos for ways to express yourself, and can you be a bit more creative? But basically that's where the glitter is. That's the whole thing with glitter and grief, and this kind of call today is once we start to put words around our experiences and do things that feel raw and real to us, that's where the glitter is, and that's where you start to shine. And Rachel, you're an example of that. With, you know, you let yourself cry and now suddenly we can see your eyes and you're eating and you're engaging, and that's the glitter, that's the magic. You know, you go through the rough stuff and then boom. And like Michaela, I can see that there's stuff moving in you, and same for you, Anne, as well. And Kelly and Donna, I can't see, but I can feel the energy in this space that everyone is getting what they need today. And Jackie, you too, and it's beautiful. Okay, let's skip to the next one. Okay, so this is the bit I'm going to record for you guys. Okay, so we won't do this right now, but I'll do this either later today or tomorrow morning, and I'll make sure Jackie gets that through to all of you. But I was going to do a brief kind of guided visualization / meditation where you get to release some of that grief, release some of the stored stuff. So it actually might not be necessary right now because we've moved through a lot, and that's kind of the magic of it. So it might actually be better to do it when you're feeling heavy or feeling like there's stuff going on. So I'll do a recording of a release and relaxation meditation. And I'm a big fan of, after that, once you've given yourself some time to chill, is actually being playful and asking yourself, what do you want your future to look like, and how can you bring that into now? Because we feel guilty for having fun when we're grieving, because we're scared people are going to say, shouldn't you be sad, shouldn't you be blah blah blah, have you got over it already, as if they're the ones to dictate where we should be on our timeline. And as much as they have good intentions, often it's very, very badly placed. So part of another thing that I'll send in a recording is just an activity around accessing your creativity again, your play, and asking yourself, what's the best case scenario here? Can I be grieving my mum who passed away 8-10 weeks ago and still go and have a bloody good time on the dance floor? Not because I'm trying to prove anything, but because I can, you know, because we are multifaceted people who have a lot of things to give. And on those days where you are feeling good, how can you maximize it? And on those days where you're feeling really low, how can you really go there and let it out? You know, like give it that permission to keep flowing, rather than thinking, oh, I need to, you know, like give yourself that permission. Spirals and cycles. Yes. Love that. Beautiful. Okay. So that I will, and I'll definitely send that through. And then this conversation I was going to have, we've kind of touched on it already, but hopefully we don't necessarily have to talk about it. It was just a prompt, really. Are there any people in your life that are coming to mind right now? You don't have to share with us necessarily, but are there people in your life right now that you want to shift those relationships with? Are you noticing patterns that you might have been stuck in? You think, okay, maybe it's time that gets looked at. Maybe I practice those boundaries that we just played with in the statements, you know? And one thing that some people tend to want to do when they get fired up and excited about something is go and do it all in one hit. Please don't do that. You know, take it gentle, like one thing at a time. Don't go and cut off all your friends and be like, yeah, no, I'm done with you. Like, we're not doing that. We want to give everybody grace, acknowledge that where we've gone and what we've experienced has got us to where we are. If we want to go somewhere else, we let that be where it is. We put it in a box, we put a bow on it, and then we write a letter to ourselves and say, okay, this is the next bit. This is the next chapter. We don't invalidate, we honor it. and slowly, slowly, slowly chip away, and know that your past habits and ways of being are going to creep up again. They're going to, just because we decide we don't want them anymore doesn't mean they're not going to show their face, right? So we want to make sure we can know that that's probably going to happen, and give yourself a bit of a contingency plan. What do I do when that happens? Yeah, I can feel it. Like there's a few of you here that I'm like, I can tell that you're ready to like make some changes, but just take it slow. Okay, we don't want to rush anything with grief because it's a gentle process. Cool. So I will send that recording through for you all. And what was I think that might be our second to last slide, Jackie. What was the last one? Is there another one? I did have it on my laptop, but it's gone. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is really just an open Q&A now. If anyone has anything or just any comments you want to make, or if you want, we can witness you in a declaration you might want to make, or any changes you're going to go and kind of explore. But that's kind of our conclusion today. Does anyone want to share anything or ask any questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for holding space. Maybe like just talk to you a bit more outside of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been helpful.
I'm really glad.
Yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Rachel. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Ellie. And thank you, Rachel, for your vulnerability and your shares. Thank you so much. It's interesting through this, it's been a grief of my transition of menopause, actually. So letting go of my my motherhood and stepping into my wise wisdom years blindly. Yeah, anyone pulling me up from above. So hence why all my energy goes into Heart Place Hospital, so that people do find a safe sanctuary to land, and we can, with the umbrella, to connect people to meet them with their needs. And you know, at the moment, I sense there's a lot of need for grief support because we haven't been raised experiencing that this is another transition, another evolution. So thank you so much, Ellie, unless anyone else wanted to share anything. But I know we've sort of gone over a little bit, so I like to honour everybody's time.
Just also wanted to add that, you know, it is really important, like you say, that this is available, because I've got to tell you, the public system is no help. You know, Friendship House, they're not taking any new people for counselling until 2025, February 2025, you know, and
wow,
where does that leave people that really need help and don't have the money to get it anywhere else?
Yeah.
No, thank you
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Oh,
you're really welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you, Rachel, for sharing that as well, and Jackie, and all of you guys that have contributed today, because it's not just me, you know, I'm not the only voice in the room, and this would not have been the same if you all didn't share and open up. You know, it would have been beautiful still, but it's always nice to hear where everyone is, because like I said, a lot of it is loneliness and that isolation, and just knowing that there's other people in different circumstances, and we know nothing really about each other's life stories. It's enough to know that actually we've all got something in common. And it is a never-ending journey, grief. It just looks different. It will continue to look different. But I just want to encourage all of you that even if, like Rachel, you said, you know, bad days, even if you're having one of those days where you're in the depths of despair and it feels like there's no way out, just simply using words to say, that's where I am today, and be in that. And then when you're in the good stuff, really celebrate it. Like, give yourself that love and that grace. Because we also want to like encourage the play and the excitement and the desire, because that doesn't go anywhere. It just gets a bit blurred. Yeah. And on a technical note, thank you very much for all of your patience today. like I said on the beginning, my morning turned out very differently and I had to get creative. And my technology is also a few years old, so I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did, to be honest. But we're good. We're getting there.
We must have had some souls looking out down on us, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, you're breaking up, Ellie, so I think this is our time to say farewell. So thank you, everybody, and I'll send you the recording and the meditation as soon as I can.
beautiful.
Thank you, Ellie, for holding such a beautiful space.
Thanks, everybody.
Ka kite.
You're so welcome. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jackie. Kati.